Let's build my TBR for 2025. Hello, my name is Emily Crow from The Cozy Crow, and welcome to my YouTube channel, and welcome to this video where we will be talking about all the books that I hope to read in 2025. As we are looking forward to the new year, I'm really excited to be thinking about the kinds of reading goals that I have in mind and the kinds of books that I hope to take the time to read. Now, I'm in my TBR closet right now. This is actually my actual closet. And so I have some shelves in here. It's kind of like a funky space that is multi-purpose. It's actually in the bathroom. It's a big closet in the bathroom. Don't ask me, my house is old. But I have some shelves up here that I have some books in. I've also got some shelves down here that I have some books in. So I'll be pulling some books from all areas, and we'll be talking about the books that I hope to read, and I'm going to try to settle on a list of 25 physical books on my TBR shelves that I hope to read in 2025. The lighting in here is not good like any time of day, and I'm filming this at like 10 o'clock at night because I'm staying up for night shift, and so sorry about any kind of weird lighting, shadows, but I'll try to make sure that you can at least see the books that I am showing off fairly well. So let's just jump right in and take a look at some of the like stashes of books I have and pull out a couple things that I am thinking of right now that I am really, really excited to get to soon. Here is one stash of my books, and this is probably the stash that is the most recent purchases, the things I'm most excited about right now, things I may get to even before the end of the year because I'm filming this mid-December. We'll see what happens. For right now, these are all the books that I was thinking I might read physically because either I thought that mood-wise they would fit better as like a physical reading experience, or it was taking way too long to get a library loan or whatnot. So that's all those. I have a handful of really, really short books so that if I need a palette cleanser, I've just got a little stack here to choose from all different genres. And then these are all the books I currently have loaned out from my library in order of soonest to expire to the one I have longest, because I have like 3 weeks for most of my library loans. And then this row in the back that goes all the way down to this shelf is books that I have holds for in my library. And so every once in a while I will shuffle those books based on their availability and like how soon it's projected I may get those books. And I think actually I have a book down here, Well of Ascension, which is the second book in the Mistborn original trilogy, that is hiding behind this stack, but it actually jumped up to the top of my queue, and so I have my loan now. I'm really excited. So enough people were like deferring their loan that my loan got pushed up, which I'm really excited about. So I do need to like rearrange a little bit, but just kind of orienting you to these are the books that I'm foremost thinking about. I've also got this stack here that's accumulated a lot of fantasy that I've purchased kind of recently that I've been most excited about. So I'm probably going to pull quite a few things from this stack. I don't think I'm going to necessarily pull anything from this stack or this stack for 2025. I might pull a couple things from here. Something that I noticed when I was working my way through my 2024 list of 24 books I wanted to read in 2024, I wasn't very mindful of the mood I would be in to read or seasonal reads. And so I want to be more mindful of like, what kind of books may I want to read in January? What might I want to read in February? Kind of thing, so that I can have a variety of seasonal books, a variety of moods. I was pretty good as far as a variety of genres, but it got to the point where I had like 5 unread romance novels on my list and I wasn't in a romance mood. And so I felt a little stuck in what do I read next for my physical TBR. I'm going to try to be more mindful about having a variety of moods and maybe tentative months that I think I may read these books. Now with 25 books in a year, that averages 2 books a month plus one other book that I read sometime eventually. So if I'm more mindful about the season or the month I may read a book, I think I'll have an easier time reading consistently. I did really well for my previous year's challenge until maybe like June or July, and then I just was kind of stuck in wanting to read more summary books and not having a lot of summary books on my TBR, and so I kind of deviated a little bit. I kind of forgot about my TBR for a little bit, and I'm trying to catch up. I will probably finish that or get really, really close by the end of 2024. So I did pretty good, but I want to be more mindful this time around so that I can have an easier time of reading books that fit my mood that's on my physical TBR. You'll also see below let's peek down there. I've also got old books from like my childhood bedroom. So I've got some childhood books like Little House on the Prairie, even like Aragon that I read way long ago. I don't remember what it's about, but I would love to get back into that series. These are all old books that I either have been meaning to read for a really long time or I read so long ago I would love to reread them before I put them on my bookshelf downstairs. So this is kind of like a little collection of old books. Lots of like middle grade things in here too. Some other like classics and more adult books from when I was like in high school. That's what that is. We're probably not going to pull very much from there for this video, but I might pull something. Maybe I'll just pull a whole bunch of books that are inspiring me and then I will wheedle down our list, because for right now I've got a huge stack of fantasy books on my list and I don't know how feasible that is to get through. Of course, right now I'm in a fantasy mood, but other parts of the year I will not be. You're getting a look at my closet and the things that I own. I have a lot of stuffies. They're living back here right now because there's not a great place to put them, but there's Pickle the Dinosaur from Mariah Elizabeth. I have a couple others of hers in there. I've got an old teddy that my great-grandmother gave me. So it's got like the cool like moving arms and stuff. Anyway, like you're seeing my clothes, you're seeing my stuffies and my books. Oh, and my socks. I've got lots of hand-knit socks. But back to the discussion at hand. So I just took a look at my abbreviated stats for 2024. Now, not quite finished with the year. I've got like 2 weeks left. So we'll see how things change. But as it stands, I'll pop the pictures in. I am about even as far as the fantasies and romances I've read. Those have been my most read genres by a long shot. I do feel like though the way that Storygraph encompasses genres doesn't limit things to just one genre. I'd have to look at my own statistics that I come up with to kind of say which ones are fantasy books versus which ones are romances, because there's a lot of books that have both fantasy and romance mixed in, and so these books fall into both categories. I'll have to do a full stats video at the end of 2024 to really dive in, but just from a cursory glance, I read a lot of fantasy, I read a lot of romance. Those are my highest rated genres, so I should have those be my highest amounts of things. I do also read some speculative fiction, some horror, some mystery, some contemporary, definitely more contemporary than those like other genres, some sci-fi. I don't know if I mentioned that. So I've got a little bit of everything here that I pulled as far as books that I'm thinking I may get to in 2025. So I'm going to count through what I've got, see how many things I need to get rid of from this list. And if I want to play around with any themes or moods so that I can hopefully have books throughout the year that I am excited to read. Let's take a look. Okay, 32 books means I need to edit out 7 of them from this list. Let me show you what I picked out. We've got lots of fantasies, like too many. I think I'll probably pull a few from there. I've got quite a few romances, 1 horror. I don't buy a lot of horror just because I'm nervous about whether I'll like it or not, but I tend to like horror actually. So I shouldn't be as hesitant probably, or maybe I'm just really mindful about the horror that I read, so it's something I like. I've got 1 speculative fiction, sci-fi, I've got a classic in here, I've got a couple mysteries. So definitely need to make some progress here. I'm going to try to organize, pick out 2 to 3 books that I think will be a good fit for each month of my reading. Try to stagger so I have some small books, I have some larger books, and I'll get back to you when I have a decided list. All right, we have our final books that have made the cut for this 25 in 2025 TBR list. Now, I'm definitely going to read more than 25 books. I'm even going to read more than 25 books from off my shelves, but these are the books I'm going to prioritize, and I'm going to be really intentional about trying to get to, because I have like specific reasons that I want to get to them sooner rather than later. So I'm going to run through really quick kind of where I put them in the lineup of January to December when I think I may get to them, and I will read them when I'm in the mood to read them. But by trying to figure out what month I may read these books, I'm hoping that'll make it easier to read them consistently and to always have a book that will suit the season or holiday or weather or mood that I am in. So for January, that's where I put my 3 books. I picked Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. Now, I am nervous about this one. Hockey player, figure skater romance. People either love it or hate it. So I feel like I just need to read it to know where I fall. I'm hoping I don't hate it, but I'm also a little nervous. We'll find out. I also picked The Hobbit, which is technically a reread for me. I've read this 2 times before in my life. Last time I read it was when my husband and I were dating. We read it together. That was almost 8 years ago. So it would be really great to read it again. And I really want to get into Tolkien's other works, which would require me in my brain to start from the beginning, read The Hobbit, and then read The Fellowship of the Ring, which I haven't read before, because I really want to dive into Tolkien's work and I want to read more classics. So I want to start rereading The Hobbit, something that is familiar to me, something that I've read before, but it's been long enough that I feel like it's going to be a totally new experience getting into this. And then finally, I want to read The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This just is a cozy fantasy. I don't know much about it, but I had bought this book, and then 2 weeks later, my mom sent me a copy because she thought that I would like this book. So I had to return one of the books. But that just told me that I really needed to read this. I've liked other cozy fantasies, such a good mood, and I feel like the dark and dreary January, I would love to read this. And look how pretty the sprayed edges are. February is the month of love, and I don't have anything that screams February romance, but I do have a romance I'm interested in reading, Flawless by Elsie Silver. Maybe this is better as a summer read because it's a cowboy romance. I don't know when it takes place, but I would love to read her work and decide if it's something I want to pursue. This is the first in a series, and some people really, really love this series. So I would love to start reading her work and decide if she is for me and if I want to totally dive in head first and get all the rest of the books and do a binge read. I also have Anatomy, a Love Story by Dana Schwartz, and this is a genre fusion of historical, there's a romance subplot. I don't know if there's a fantasy in here too, or if it's just historical, but it's a YA. I think this will be a really fun, a lighthearted read with a little bit different elements. I tend to love books that have genre fusion, and so I think this will be a really fun read, and it's a duology. So I would love to read this book, decide if I want to read the second one, so I can then get the second one and have a completed set. I love finishing series, and I have a lot of first books in series on this list because I want to find out what I want to commit to. In March, it might be a fantasy month for me. I have Rebecca Thorne's A Pirate's Life for Tea. This is the second book in her series. The first book is, what's the first book called? I can't remember. I'll pop it up here. But this is the second book, beautiful sprayed edges, another cozy read, and they are on a mission to find something, is all I remember. I'd have to read the back cover, but I want to, again, continue the series, cozy fantasy, and then I want to dive in headfirst to Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. I've heard so much about this. I have the indie versions of the first 3 books because I heard they were going out of print, and so I snatched them up really quick so that I would at least have a full set. I am really excited to be able to dive in. Fantasy Fangirls podcast is doing a deep dive starting in April, I think, and they also alluded to the 4th and final book, Burn of the Everflame, being announced soon. So I'm really hoping that if I start this in March, I'll be ready to read the next couple books. Maybe Burn will come out soon, thereafter, sometime later this year, hopefully, and I can really be ready for this deep dive and to really enjoy being in this fantasy world. In April, I'm thinking I might read Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. This is a romance. There is a pregnancy trope involved. This just looks very springy romance. I'm excited. I've heard great things about it. I just needed a break. I've had a couple pregnancy trope romances recently, so I need a little break, but I'm excited to read this soon. I also pulled Kaikei by Vaishnavi Patel, which is a historical fantasy, I guess. It's based off of some Indian folktales, I think. I have her second book as well that I found on clearance somewhere, which I was so happy and excited about. And so I have the matching hardcover sets of these, and I really need to get to them. I want to read more from diverse authors, and so that's going to be one of my goals I think I may take into 2025. So you'll hear more about that in a different video where I talk about my 2025 goals outside of this TBR list. But I would love to read this and enjoy this author's work because I've heard amazing things about it, and I feel like this book, for how good it is from what I've heard, has not been talked about enough. All right, May, I've got another romance here. Christina Lauren, Tangled Up in You. This is a YA new adult romance inspired by Rapunzel's story. So I think this will be really fun. This is part of like a interconnected standalone type of a series, I think, where each book is written by a different author or authors, and they are inspired by Disney princesses. So I picked this one up because I love Rapunzel. She's my favorite modern day princess, and Christina Lauren, I really enjoyed their writing in the past, and I want to continue reading some of their stuff. So I have this one, and then another series I'm interested in starting, another world I'm interested in diving into, is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Heard a lot about it. Honestly, don't know much about it, but it's a YA fantasy. I'm excited to dive in and decide if it's for me. And then June, we've got an easy breezy romance from Lucy Score, No More Secrets. It takes place in like small town. I really love Lucy Score's work that I've read before, and I want to branch out into other series of hers. I've just read the Riley Thorne like mystery romance series. That's hilarious. It's like my cozy read because it makes me laugh so much. So I want to branch out to some other work of hers. This is shorter than a lot of her other books, so I think this would be a great place to start. And I also want to read The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Yes, I never read this in school because I was in some international literature classes, so I never read like classic American or classic European literature like a lot of my classmates might have. And so I want to go back and read a lot more classics. This is not a long read. I looked it up, and apparently it takes place during the summer. I will definitely have a goals video where I want to talk about all the things I want to focus on in my reading, rather than like a numbers goal, but the types of books that I want to pick up more and be more intentional about reading. All right, July, I've got another romance. I feel like summer is the time for romances. This is Nora Goes Off Script by Annabelle Monaghan, and I keep wanting to pick up more of her books, and I keep telling myself, no, you've got this book on your shelf. You should read this one first and make sure you like her as an author. And so finally, I'm going to make sure I read it. I'm going to prioritize this so I know if she's an author for me and if I should pick up more of her stories. And then Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn. I've started reading the Veronica Speedwell series, and I really enjoyed that. And my mom recommended this book for me. And I feel like this is a comedic mystery about some old ladies that used to be spies that now have to, I don't know, something about like clearing their name or staying safe in their old age. I'm not sure. Their past coming back to haunt them. And this sounds like a fun summer read as like a more lighthearted mystery, but I'm not actually sure. We'll have to see when I read it. August. This is another romance that I think might be a good end of summer kind of read, The Happy Ever After Playlist by Abby Jimenez. I've read her most recent interconnected standalone series. I've loved her work recently, and so I really want to go back through her backlist and read some more of her books. I've heard that people love this one, so I think I might start here, but I should probably do a little bit more research and decide if there are other books of hers I want to read also this year, but this is the one I have on my shelf, so I want to make sure to read more Abby Jimenez. Another series I'm interested in starting, this is Keeper of Enchanted Rooms by Charlie N. Holmberg, and this is like a historical fantasy. Again, I love genre fusions, and I had this on my eye for a while, but basically this person goes to a house that they've inherited, I think, and then they're locked inside. Like the house has a mind of its own, and so they're trying to get along well with the house, I think is my impression. And so cozy fantasy, it's a series. I just love this cute art. So I would love to dive in and enjoy reading this series. I think the third book is out. I would love to read this, enjoy it, and then keep reading. And then in September, as the fall is just around the corner, I would love to read Haunted Ever After by Jen DeLuca. This is a haunted house romance, and so I'm excited to get into it. It takes place in Florida, I think, and so I think this will be good for like a warmer weather type of getting ready for spooky season. And then talking about fall, school is starting. I want to read We Ride Upon Sticks by Quan Berry. I've heard that this is like a weird, like magical realism, speculative fiction. It involves some players on a field hockey team, and I played field hockey in high school, and so I've just been intrigued by it. Books and Lala read this and loved it. And she has some interesting taste in books, but I've found that some of her like weirder picks are things I enjoy, and so I want to branch out and go for this book. I'm a little nervous about it. I also haven't heard a lot about it, and it was really hard to find. I think I had to order it on Amazon. I could not find it in any bookstore anywhere. So I've committed. I really want to read this. And it seems like there's like a historical aspect to it too. I'm not sure. It should be a weird read. And I'm looking forward to it. And then for Spooky Month in October, I've got Richard Osman's We Solve Murders. I've loved his Thursday Murder Club. It's just my kind of humor and getting to know these really distinct characters. So I'm excited to read something else of his as he's branched out. This is a mystery series, and I think it involves like multiple generations in a family solving murders together. I don't actually know, but this should be really fun as far as mysteries go, and I've enjoyed his work in the past, so I think it will be a solid read. And then Stephen King's You Like It Darker, wanting some horror. Again, I don't read a lot of horror, but I'm very judicious about the horror I read, and so I really want to get started on Stephen King's work, and I feel like reading these shorter stories will be a good way to dip my toe in, and like read this throughout the month of October would be ideal. Whenever I haven't liked a horror novel, it's not been because it's too gruesome, it's always because it's not gruesome enough. I like it darker, I think. For November, moving into the fantasy, cozy type of books, I've got The Hollow and the Haunted by Camilla Rains. And this is a YA that's dark, it's gothic. I don't actually remember, but I had a friend online that recommended this highly, and she was like, if you like A, B, and C in your books, you're gonna love this book. And I'm like, that sounds perfect for me. So I have to go back and learn more about this, but it's intrigued me enough that I wanted to buy it, and I want to make the time to read this. I also want to continue this series, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is the second one, Map of the Other Lands. Yes, I still haven't read this. I just haven't been in the right mood or space that I've wanted to set aside the time for it, and so I really want to prioritize that this year. This will be a great fall book. It takes place like September to December time, so November would be the perfect time to read this. And finally, my guess is for December. Not sure next year if I'm going to want to read a lot of holiday books or not, but I have some more cozy reads. This is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. I've really enjoyed her work in the past, and I want to continue reading her work. This is her newest release, I think. I bought this earlier this year, and I still have not read this. It's inspired by The Goose Girl. I love gothic fairy tales, dark fairy tales, and I really love T. Kingfisher's work, so I want to continue reading her things, and I want to get more up to date on what she's releasing, and also read some of her backlist too. But this is what I've got on my shelf right now. And then, I know this is 5 books technically in one, but I definitely want to read at least one of these stories in The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. I read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy a long time ago. I don't really remember a lot about it, enough that I like remember some of the punchlines like 42 and whatnot, but I would love to reread it now that I have an adult brain, and it's been like 15 years probably. So like half my life since I've read any of his work, and now that I again have developed more of my frontal lobe, I would love to dive in and read more, and it would just be fun to have like a cozy sci-fi laugh. So there are 5 of his books in this chunk, so I think it would be fun to read some of them. So it starts with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, Life, the Universe and Everything, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, and Mostly Harmless. And I've only read the first one, so I don't necessarily plan to read this whole tome in December, but I would love to get started on reading these stories. So there you have it. 25 books that I hope to read and get off of my physical TBR in the year 2025. Let me know what you are planning to read in the next year. Do you have any TBR goals? I would love to hear down below if you've read any of these books, or if you have any books that you are really excited to get to in the next year. Keep an eye out for other videos that I plan to post, including a statistics video about my reads for 2024, some of my favorites for 2024 that I've read. I might do like my 24 favorite books from 2024 type of video. I also might do a reading goals video where I talk a little bit more about how I'm going to be intentional about the types of books that I'm reading to include more classics, include more diverse authors, and things like that. So keep an eye out for those types of videos. If you're interested in following me for more content, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification down below to be notified every time I post a new video. And until next time, happy reading. Bye!